Only 5% of Christians in the United States actually tithe 10% of their income. That is according to a poll by the Barna Group. I don't think that Jesus expects for us to be legalistic about tithing. However, American Christians hold 80% of all the wealth of Christians worldwide. According to the Empty Tomb Research Organization, if each Christian tithed only 10%, we would have an additional $139 billion each year to fund Christian churches and ministries worldwide. I recently read a book by John Dickerson called The Great Evangelical Recession. According to Dickerson, there are specific factors that are leading to a severe financial crisis of the evangelical Christian church. First of all, our Christian ministry model has become dependent on dollars. Since donated money is steadily decreasing, full-time paid Christian positions will probably decrease too. We will not be able to fund our current budgets. Some churches are now training gifted people to become part-time volunteer lay staff so that they can help with the teaching and the counseling and other ministries at church. Gospel for Asia is an organization that has challenged the traditional way of doing missionary outreach. They don't rely on American missionaries who have to raise $50,000 a year in order to serve on the mission field. Instead, Gospel for Asia has established their own Bible colleges, and they train their own local Christians to become missionaries to their own people. Not only do they not have to overcome any cultural barriers, but it only costs $4,000 a year to fully support a local missionary in Asia. Using these figures, we find that we can support 12 national missionaries through Gospel for Asia for the price of one American missionary. Another factor is that Christian giving will probably drop by 70% within the next 30 years, and this is due to the fact that the most generous generations of Christians will be dying. Paul tells us in the book of Acts that it is more blessed to give than receive, but our actions show that we don't really believe this. Only 5% of us actually tithe. Many of us have charged up credit cards, and we have big mortgages, and we drive overpriced cars. Leaders like David Platt in his book Radical are encouraging Christians to give up the American dream and to live sacrificially in order to fund the Great Commission. Some Christians have been motivated by Howard Dayton in his book Your Money Map. They have worked hard to get out of debt, they've paid off their mortgages, and they pay cash for their cars. And because their monthly living expenses are minimal, they are able to give much of their income to funding God's work. These Christians are examples of the verse in Matthew 6 that tells us to lay up for ourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in or steal. The final factor is that each generation in the church has shown to be increasingly unreliable, unpredictable, and less generous in their giving when compared to the previous generation. I admire the passion of the younger generations of Christians that want to promote social justice in the name of Jesus. They are serious about Jeremiah 22:15, which says to know the Lord means that we will provide justice and help to the poor and needy. But we all need to do our part financially if we are going to fund these compassionate projects. It will cost a lot of money to end modern-day slavery. It will cost a lot to aid in the natural disaster relief projects and to help the 153 million orphans. These programs are already in place, and they are helping people and successfully bringing people to Jesus. But they need to be funded, and that won't happen if only 5% of American Christians tithe. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 27 that when we see danger approaching, we are wise to avoid it, while the foolish will keep going and suffer for it. Well, we've been warned, and if we don't make drastic changes, Christian churches and ministries will not be able to stay in business. We have the opportunity to be proactive, to be forward-thinking, and to prevent this evangelical recession from happening. God has already given us the financial means. We are a very wealthy nation when compared to the rest of the world. Even if each Christian gives only 10% of their income, we will have an additional $139 $39 billion each year. Now we have to decide what we're going to do and how generous we're going to be.